Welcome back to Fencemaker Sim Racing. So today I'm excited to make this video because I got a few new pieces of gear for sim racing and that really kind of change everything. First, for the T300 wheelbase I have here, I got the Sparco Thrustmaster R383 mod, and it is nice. It's like it's a replica 1-to-1 of the Sparco wheel like the Rallycross wheel that they have. It's got suede wrapping, so that's why I have these gloves here. They're BMW gloves, and they happen to be the cheapest ones I could find on Amazon, which is kind of weird. But the Sparco gloves that I wanted to get for it were like $200. These were $35. I figured it was more reasonable, and they don't have the full sleeve that I really didn't need on them. So, and then also this rim in comparison to the old one, I'll show you here. Okay, so this one's nice, but it's got a PlayStation logo on it. I'm a PC gamer, so really, it was it was a good option for a wheel starter, and the rubber is nice and it has good grip, and it's real rigid. You're not going to bend this rim or anything like that. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with this wheel. I didn't replace it because it was broken. I replaced it because I wanted something that felt a little bit more realistic and closer to a real car. And I don't think that you can get much more real than this from Thrustmaster, other than the other Sparco wheel that they have. Or if you're into Formula, they have a couple Formula style wheels too. And then, but for regular road cars, I think this is it. So moving on from that, I got the next level FGT Lite cockpit here, and it's like all tubing and stuff, almost like a bicycle frame in a sense. And it has like some clips, and the way it locks into place is really it's awesome. It's pretty cool. I didn't think that it would be as rigid as it is. It's really nice, and what it does absorb from the force feedback, you feel like in the whole seat a little bit, so it feels more realistic because the forces that the wheel puts out they emulate forces that you don't actually feel in a steering wheel in a car. So whenever they transfer over to that, it somewhat feels more real to me. And like the shifter plate mount, I have a board extending onto it to have my handbrake that you can't quite see. It's off the camera a little bit there. But that I'll adjust that when I play rally games. I'll put it in the shop. But right now I kind of rushed to get this video put together. But you can feel like a nice solid. There's a little bit of play that you see. When you're racing, you can't feel that at all. It's nice and solid, way better than whenever it was mounted onto the clamp that I had clamped onto the desk to extend it down a little bit away from the wheel. But this is far better. I'm thinking, what else can I talk about here about this gear? I mean, other than having like a pedal plate that's really solid, and you feel whenever you're using the load cell brake here, I can push back as hard as I want, and this chair's not going to move. I mean, for being a portable unit, it feels way more realistic. I mean, you're in it. It almost feels like you're in like a go-kart or something like that, but maybe a little bit higher up. And it's nice. It's definitely helps everything. But anyway, we'll get into the race here. I'm playing Project Cars 2. Let me get the camera set up. All right, playing Project Cars 2 at the Dubai Autodrome Club with a BMW M1 Pro car. Very nice car. I'm on a difficulty of 85, which I haven't beat this yet. I beat it on 83. I was working my way up to try to get ready for this video. I mean, I've done this track quite a bit, but that's not saying I'm gonna win this one, because I mean, they're gonna be, if I do win, they'll be right on me the whole time probably, because I beat the last on 83. I beat it with like 0.3 seconds ahead of the competition, so that's not that great, but it's still, I mean, it counted, so I had to move up a little bit and see what we can do here. Well, hope all goes well for a good viewing experience, I suppose. Oh, we got him off the line.
Fantastic start there, mate.
This track gives you a lot of room to practice all sorts of skills, like catching slides, doing heel toe especially, because there's not a lot of room to move on this track as far as like speed goes. So I gotta remove myself to position 2 here because going off a little bit, but that's all right. We're gonna catch them. All right, but basically, this track has a lot of stop and go situations, so, or I guess not quite stop, but there's a lot of curves, so you're doing a lot of maneuvering. with the brake and stuff like that, especially when you get to high speed. Like here, you can shift up, but there's no point. You lose time in the downshift on your way around it. But I hope I can get this guy. Ooh, sliding a little bit too much. Keep that grip. This car is very fun though. Hopefully this camera angle works pretty good. I mean, you can see the shifter a little bit and see more of, I guess, a full view. Try to experiment with that a little bit there, see what I can do to catch this guy. Eventually I'd like to get a camera behind me, because I think if I could go from behind my shoulder here a little bit and give a little bit better perspective of what I see when I'm doing it, it might add some more enjoyment to the viewer. So if that's something somebody wants to see, let me know. This track actually was the first track from Project Cars 1 that I ever like memorized, so that's one of the reasons I was drawn to do this one eventually. But the BMW car is literally just because I got these BMW gloves here, I figured I might as well drive a BMW car for the video. And it was well worth it, because when I found this one, like I said, I fell in love with this car. If only I could own something like this in real life. Ooh, off a little bit. Oh, we got it. Player or position 1 is, it's up there a little bit compared to us there, so we gotta get moving. At least we can still see them. Try to push it a little bit, can't push it too much or I'll lose this position, and that wouldn't be great, because getting P2 in a race is not something to complain about, I suppose. Even though I definitely want first. I know I can do it. Oh, they're gaining even more on us. That's alright, we're holding position 2 pretty well. Hopefully. Anything could go wrong at any minute here. Ooh, they just hit me from behind there, damn. This track sometimes almost feels a bit like a ride, sort of, because when you go over this part right here, it's like all wobbly and stuff. It's like the fun house of tracks. Just kidding. Let's see what we can do. Got one lap after this, so I hope I can at least hold my ground, I suppose. Doesn't matter, it's all for fun anyway, I suppose. Saw him sneaking up a little bit there, decided to gun the throttle a little bit. It worked. I do feel like I'd like a little bit more adjustment in the pedal board for this, and that's not really, I mean, it probably has it, but I don't have that in the room size that I'm working with, so I can't probably extend it out anymore to get a little bit of a softer angle there, so I can basically reach it a little bit better for doing heel and toe. It is a little awkward, but I'll get used to it, because in a real car I'd be more scrunched up than I am in this. There's a lot of room. That straight always confuses me, because I always feel like I need to like shift up, but you don't. Ooh, second position. Okay, that worked out. Alright, so that was that race there. Didn't do too bad there. I know I could have taken first if I didn't mess up there in the beginning, because I mean, they did get ahead of me pretty well and they stayed ahead, but I feel like I could have had it. At least part of me. I'd like to believe that. But well, yeah. Anyway, I'd like to do more like reviews on these products that I have here that I've been talking about, and I will in the future, but I'd like to say that I don't have the space for that right now. Like, nowhere to tear things down and set them back up in an organized fashion to make it good for a viewing experience. So I'll worry about that later. It's not in the near future, I know that, like, not immediate anyway, but I mean, it's something I just got to work on. But as far as like the rest of this stuff, I will talk about more of like what I'm feeling about these products as I use and abuse them, basically. Because I mean, you can't go too easy on things like this because you're simulating an automobile. So I mean, luckily most of the stuff is built rigidly and pretty hardcore, so it lasts pretty well. And I mean, as far as I've seen in reviews and stuff like that, most of the stuff I've purchased should go a good length. At least until I decide to up it a little bit and either get like a CSL Elite, a CSW, or a TSPC Racer. This rig will be perfectly fine for the T300. I really do not think that you would need anything more for this at all. And I mean, the price of this was the cockpit itself was $300, in case anybody was wondering. The price of this Sparco rim here was $200. And really, those two things changed everything. Compared to being clamped to a desk and having a more real feel in the wheel, you really can't ask for more. I mean, even the tactile feel in the paddle shifters is much better. And the buttons themselves, what you know when you click them, compared to like the PlayStation style buttons and these. I mean, the right side of this, the only wear that this wheel here has is the right side paddle shifter doesn't, whenever you click it, it doesn't click back up. This one, and even the left side here, it makes a noise both directions, as if you can hear that. And this barely does, if anything, and it just feels soft. I don't like that. These feel more tactile. You have adjustments to them to move them inward more. So if you really never really use the paddle shifters, you could even take them off. And, you know, I mean, some people probably do that, where they just use them for different buttons, have them in so they don't get in the way whenever they're moving their hand back up from the shifter or the handbrake. But there's a lot of options. And with the adjustability of this cockpit can also go in a formula style too. So if you were really into formula racing and you had a big widescreen TV in front of you on the floor or something like that, or not on the floor but closer to the floor, you could get yourself a pretty realistic feel. Especially if you had a formula rim, you wouldn't probably know the difference as far as like the comfort level and getting in at least in the space and the shape that you'd need to be in for that. But and a lot of cockpits don't do that, so that's a nice thing that I'll probably never really try, and if I do, it'll just be something just to mess around with I don't know, just to goof off, I suppose. But I will come up with a more permanent fixture for my shifter plate here eventually, like build something to make the handbrake in a more accessible location, and then hard mount the shifter over a little bit more so everything's in a easy to reach spot and more natural position. But for now, everything's a lot better, so hopefully this makes the content better for the viewer, and hopefully it makes all the racing feel better for me so I can experience it, get better, and then give the feedback as I go. But thanks for watching, and have a good day.